Good evening and hello everyone. Welcome to the Grafton Select Board meeting for October 19, 2021. I'd like to call the meeting to order for 7 p.m. First order of business, I would like to ask everyone please raise and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you very much. First up here, I just have a few announcements before we get into public comments. If anyone has any public comments that are in the attendees list on Zoom meeting, please raise your hand. Just real quick, Grafton Public Library is open. They're open Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. Friday and Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Please note that the Grafton League of Women Voters, in conjunction with the Shrewsbury League of Women Voters and the Grafton Historical Society, are presenting I Now Pronounce You Lucy Stone on Sunday, November 7th at 2 p.m. at the Great Hall at 1 Grafton Common. Admission is free, but masks are required. Just a reminder that the Small Stones Art Festival exhibition opened on October 15th and is running through the 24th, with many different special events. For complete list, please visit their website at www.smallstonesfestival.org. Last but not least, Halloween is around the corner. We expect that there will be many residents who are participating in Halloween this year, but there will also be some residents who prefer not to participate. We ask residents, please watch out for social media updates on Halloween celebrations from the Grafton Police, as they will be posting updates on their Facebook post several days before Halloween, as they will be out with additional staff throughout the evening.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I believe there is an attendee with their hand raised.
Yes, I see that, and she indicated that she was going to come to our meeting. Thank you. Oh, good evening, Lydia. How are you?
Well, I'll be better after the ninth inning, thank you.
I think you speak for all of us. Thank you for coming out tonight. The floor is yours.
Okay, it was my intention to be there physically, but since I have a chance to watch the game with my grandsons, you get me via Dr. Spock's invention. I wanted to enunciate that my opinions publicly was just me speaking. I was not at any point speaking on behalf of the search committee. But I really would like to know, since we fulfilled our obligation, we gave you 3 prioritized candidates, why you stopped at 1, since there were 2 more. And then I have questions on 2 other documents.
Lydia, we discussed that on Thursday. I don't want to go through and rehash that, but board members gave their reasons, and we moved on from the finalists to go forward.
Okay. Well, the search committee will be meeting tomorrow evening. It is our intention to, with your blessing, make a few tweaks to the advertisement. If you want that, fine. If you don't, otherwise, we would like to discuss sharing other documents that are currently locked into the Google site, such as the fire department survey, which we feel you should have.
Right. Ms. Bogart, just to clarify, so tonight we have in our meeting that we were going to dissolve the committee. I talked to you yesterday that I thought it was prudent that you at least post one more meeting to approve the final meeting minutes from the meeting where you submitted your finalists to the select board.
Correct.
In addition to that, as for creating another advertisement, I think that's premature. I think this board has established that it will go back and redraft what it thinks the job advertisement will look like after we have conversations with other key stakeholders throughout the town. But, it's your committee. You guys can do what you want to do, but please note that the board has made that decision, and we're not really entertaining that tonight, or I would say in the very near future, but probably at some time in the November timeframe.
So your intention is that you will be modifying the motion to disband us pursuant to the conversation you and I had yesterday morning?
Yeah, I will have that discussion with the committee when we get to that agenda item, correct?
Okay. And there is no reason for me to stay? I wish you well, and we will be hopefully meeting with Mrs. DeFazio and Mr. Broussard, as well as the other members of the search committee tomorrow evening.
Lydia, thank you very much for coming out tonight. And again, we thank you for your service on the committee. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me anytime.
Will do. Thank
right.
you.
Thank
Thank you all. Good night.
Thanks, Lydia.
All right, is there anyone else here from the public that would like to speak? Okay. All right, first up tonight, we have a public hearing scheduled for the National World Poll Petition. I would ask if the clerk could please read the legal notice for the public hearing.
The Select Board will hold a public hearing on the request of National Grid to locate poles, wires, fixtures, including necessary and sustaining protecting fixtures along and across the following public way. South Street. Install 2 JO poles on South Street and remove 2 JO pole on South Street beginning at a point approximately 850 feet north of the center line of the intersection of Bruce Street and continuing approximately 15 feet in a westerly direction. Install 2 40 C2 poles and remove 2 30 C4 poles in a new service for 34 South Street. And to lay and maintain underground laterals, cables, and wires in the above or intersecting public ways for the purpose of making connections with such poles and buildings as each of said petitioners may desire for distributing purposes. The public hearing will be held on October 19th, 2021 in the conference room A of Grafton Memorial Municipal Center located at 30 Providence Road. Remote meeting participation will be available and the link will be posted on the October 19th agenda. The Selectmen's meeting begins at 7 p.m. The purpose of this hearing is to provide an opportunity for a public comment. Anyone wishing to may attend via Zoom.
Thank you. Could I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion made and open the public hearing. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the motion carried, unanimous. All right, so let me just, I have with us tonight, Kimberly Tavalaimola. Did I say that right, Kimberly?
Yes, you did.
Oh, excellent. Thank you very much. Well, welcome to the meeting. Do you just want to give us an overview of this poll hearing, please?
Sure. We are just relocating 2 poles located on South Street. We have a new service we have to connect, and we are correcting any aerial trespasses that exist. So, because we're moving the poles more than 10 feet, more than 5 feet, I believe, it calls for a petition. We're not adding any new poles, we're just relocating them to clear the aerial trespasses.
Thank you. Before we go any further, we have a letter here from Paul Knoyer. I'll just take a moment and read that real quick. This is in regards to poll 13 and 14 on South Street, a memo dated September 30, 2021, sent to the Select Board. Mr. Knoyer writes, I would recommend the approval of the application from National Grid and Verizon for the installation of 2 new 40 C2 poles, number 13 and 14, located on South Street, for the removal of 2 existing 30 C4 poles, number 13 and 14, located on South Street. There are no structures, trees, or traffic concerns in the proposed location. All right. Does anybody have any questions or comments from the public that would like to come up and speak to this? Does any member? I'm sorry. Do you guys have a question? Do you want to come up and speak on this whole hearing?
Have to speak up there.
You can have a seat right here, sir. If you want to bring the chair right up, you don't have to stand.
Okay, not much of a comment. I'm David Stevens. We live 34 South Street, and one of the poles is scheduled to be put adjacent to our driveway, up the driveway. It's a 300-foot driveway. I thought you might want to know why. Currently, the power goes between 2 houses on private property and is attached to trees. And from time to time, we lose power. Sometimes 220, sometimes just one of the 110 lines. And there are sparks falling to the ground and the like, and it's time to put in new wires. And now this is the grid's thing, but you don't want to put these new poles right next to houses. And we do have a driveway, and it makes a bit more sense to put one of the poles, two of the poles along our driveway. And that's why 34 South Street is involved with poles going away from the street on private property. If you have questions, I'd be glad to answer them, or we would.
Does the board have any questions? Thank you for that, Mr. Stevenson. Does the board have any questions regarding the pole relocation? Everyone's aware of the location?
No questions, but thank you for the clarification. Coming in.
Any members from the public who are attending the Zoom meeting, if they would like to come in and speak to this hearing, please use the raise hand function within the Zoom webinar. Not seeing anybody come in. Does anyone else have any questions or comments on the board? Okay, I could take a motion to close the public hearing.
I move the board vote to close the public hearing for the South Street pole petition.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to close the public hearing. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Declare the motion carried. Okay. So in front of us today, we have action for the board to take for the movement of the pole. Does anyone have any questions or comments? If not, I can entertain a motion.
I move the board vote to approve the pole petition as presented for South Street.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to move the poles 13 and 14 on South Street as proposed. Is there any questions on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Declare the motion carried unanimous. Thank you. All right. Next up, we have drainage easement for 130 George Hill Road.
Yeah, so this is something I've been working with Paul and Kevin on. We are thankful that it passed town meeting last night, so now that we can issue the actual drainage easement. The easement is not ready yet. It's going between the two attorneys back and forth. So what I'd like to request is if the board could delegate their signing authority of the drainage easement to me. I anticipate it will be done hopefully by the end of the week so we can start the work next week. But I would not like to wait until November 2nd to get shovels in the ground.
Okay.
So it's pretty straightforward work. We are covering two costs. There is a plan that we're going to cover the cost of, and we're going to have to repave a driveway because this goes straight through the center of it. And then the rest of our cost is just pipe and the labor. So pretty straightforward, but it's definitely something we want to do before winter hits.
So this is short-term remediation.
It's quasi short term. I would think that anything we do in the future is probably going to be spec'd similar. So most of this infrastructure we put in the ground, I would think is going to remain.
Okay.
So we're putting in, the water comes out of a field. It's going to go into two 12-inch pipes that are then going to reduce into a 36-inch pipe and then run for, I think it's 110 or 120 feet, and then daylight on the other side into some riprap. So it is a fully engineered plan that we're working off of, and I think that there would probably be some changes at the roadway, but the 36-inch pipe that we're trenching is probably going to be what's spec to remain. There's nowhere else for this water to go. Currently it comes out, it's actually kind of neat if you're into that kind of thing. You follow the water into the woods, and on a regular day, the water coming out of the farm fields across the street disappears into this square hole in the ground. And that's an old stone culvert from the farm days of God knows when.
Wow.
And so it doesn't reappear for, 120 feet until it comes down the hill. But when it rains a lot, this volume of water is not acceptable, and it floods these folks' yard and goes across their driveway and then into this very large trench.
So that culvert's still working though.
Yeah. I mean, not well. I'm sure it's somewhere in
Not
here
at
it's
enough
collapsed and
capacity,
everything.
But yeah,
Right.
that's phenomenal.
It is pretty neat. If it's not on your property and
Yeah.
causing erosion, I think it's real cool. Just that it exists. But yeah. So if the board is willing to just delegate that authority to me, it's a really straightforward project, and Paul and I and Kevin, I think, have it well in hand.
So I think you're looking for just a motion to authorize the town administrator to sign drainage easement for 130 George Hill Road.
Yes, please.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah. So which two lawyers are discussing this?
Town council and the homeowner's attorney.
Okay. Got it.
So we're doing a temporary easement, because then once it's in the ground, we then survey that, and then that becomes the permanent easement. So
Got it.
two-step.
Okay. So moved.
Second.
Motion made to authorize the town administrator to sign drainage easement for 130 George Hill Road. Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Declare the motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have Apple Tree Arts requesting a one-day beer and wine license for November 5th and November 20th. Is there any questions from the board? Hearing none, I can entertain a motion.
I move the board vote to grant a one-day beer and wine license to Apple Tree Arts on November 5th, 2021 and November 20th, 2021.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion on the motion for the one-day beer and wine license? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Declare motion carried unanimous. Thank you. Next up, we have a preventative maintenance contract from Renault HVACs and Controls. Contract is in the packet. Does anyone have any questions? Evan, do you want to give us an overview?
I'll turn that over to William for the overview.
Yeah, so this contract is for preventative HVAC maintenance at multiple municipal buildings around town. Renaud was the vendor that we'd been using prior. We went out to bid, solicited quotes, and Renaud was once again the apparent low bidder. So this is a one-year contract with two one-year extension options if the town should decide to do so. But everything that they're going to be doing, all the filters they're going to be changing, the preventative maintenance is all outlined in the scope of work.
Any questions? It's pretty straightforward, and this is the same incumbent HVAC vendor that's been in Grafton, I think, for a number of years.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I can entertain a motion if anyone's ready.
I move the board vote to sign the contract with Renaud HVAC and Controls for the preventative maintenance to HVAC systems at Grafton municipal buildings in an amount not to exceed $35,590.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Declare the motion carried unanimous. Thank you. All right, so next up, we had a amendment to our original agenda for adding the road stabilization and capital stabilization accounts. I'm gonna hand this over to Evan, and he can give an overview as to why we're doing this now and not waiting till the second.
Yeah, so as I'll talk about, or you'll talk about in resignations, our town treasurer is moving on. She will be no longer employed by Grafton as of November 12th, but she's not going to be in the office after November 5th. And so, given the tight timeline of our classification hearing, which is November 2nd, she had requested that we do it, that we make this vote this evening so that she has time to make sure all of her ducks are in a row, and give herself a 3-day window so should something come up between the 2nd and the 5th. Just wants to make sure that she leaves us in really good shape. And so we had discussed this morning and thought it would be prudent to bring this up now per her request and make sure that we get it done in a timely manner.
Any questions?
Just one. So we had discussed earlier having the assessor come in and talk about the potential for increasing the amount on this. I understand the timing and sort of what's evolved from our last discussion to now. So, I'm okay with taking action on this if we're not prepared to have that discussion yet about the increase. But I definitely want to have that discussion. I think it's a really important way to make our budget in these two areas more sustainable than it is currently. So I don't want to drop that, but I understand sort of what's evolved since then.
Yeah, that was our original intention, but we're on a different path now.
Yep, I get it.
unfortunately. Thank you for your understanding.
Any other questions? Okay, I can get a motion from us.
So I move the board vote to instruct the assessor to raise $1.5 million for the road stabilization account and $800,000 for the capital stabilization account.
Second.
I have a motion made second. Any discussion for the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Carried. Yeah, the motion carried unanimous. Thank you. All right, moving on. So we have a resignation tonight from the Affordable Housing Trust.
I move the board vote to accept the resignation of Elizabeth Haynes from the Affordable Housing Trust and to send her a letter of thanks.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Just so everyone knows that we will be appointing a replacement on or about November 2nd at that meeting.
Okay,
So
good.
we will have some, I'm sure, some interviews again.
Sounds good.
All right, any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Carried. Oh my God, here we go again. The motion carried unanimous. Okay. Apparently I can't say that. Next up, we have resignation of Mary Oliver.
I move the board vote to accept the resignation of Mary Oliver as the principal town assessor effective November 13th, 2021, and to send her a letter of thanks.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion on the motion?
So just thanks, Mary.
Yeah.
She's been a phenomenal assessor, and her talents in that office will definitely be missed.
Yes, agree.
I would agree. Her presentations that she's done over the years, explaining this to the public and to the board every year, have been. I've learned a lot, and every time she does those presentations and she talks about the tax rates, I always learn something new, and I think a lot of the public does too. But
Yeah.
I'm going to miss her, and I wish her all the best in her new endeavor. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Declare the motion unanimous. I can't say that tonight. All right, we don't have any appointments tonight. We have a town administrator appointment for children's room assistant for the Grafton Public Library. Just want to let you know, Stacy joined us tonight. I'm just gonna ask her if she wants to come into the meeting. I see that she's in the attendees list. Stacy, can you hear us?
Good evening.
Good evening. Hi. Thank you for attending. But I saw your name in there on the list. I figured I'd just invite you in. You want to just give us a little bit of information about yourself?
Yep, I am a current resident of Grafton for approximately 6 years. I have 2 children in the Grafton public school system. I have a huge passion for reading and inspiring children and their literature, and I'm really looking forward to assisting the community at the library.
Great. Any questions for Stacy?
No, just a comment. I saw her resume come through and it looks great. And I'm really excited that we're hiring staff for this new space. And Stacy, best of luck in your new position. And thank you.
Thanks so much.
And I just want to make another notice. For those of you who may not know Stacy, if you search for her on social media, you'll see that she has a vast social media information out there about youth and reading. It's fantastic. If you know of some young readers, Stacy, you've obviously helped my son in some of those readings, so we appreciate it. But I do learn a lot from seeing some of your posts out there from time to time. But it's a great asset to the town and anyone else, even outside the town. But Stacy, I think what you're doing is great, and keep up the good work, and I'm appreciative for your efforts.
Thank you all so much.
All right. Is there any other questions or comments from the board? Can entertain a motion.
I move the board vote to affirm the appointment of Stacy Herbert as the children's room assistant at the Grafton Public Library effective November 1, 2021.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Declare the motion carried unanimous. Wow, I said it right. Look at that. Thanks, Stacy. Have a great night.
Thanks, Stacy.
Thanks, you too.
All right. Next up, we had on here, based on our meeting on Thursday, we talked about the fire search committee completed their charge. We're having here new business to vote to disband it. If I could just have the committee's attention just a few minutes on this, that in speaking with Lydia yesterday afternoon, it was apparent to me that I think there's some like business that they need to finish up officially. They need to kind of get their last sets of minutes from their when they made their decision on the finalists. But more importantly, I think there's some other documents and information that I think are pertinent that were done that they wanted to hand over. So that you have to go through that and just make sure that gets all put together and submitted to the clerk's office. But I know I have it on here, vote to disband the search committee. I would ask that we give them a few extra days, and like maybe towards the end of the week or middle of next week, to just make sure that they've got time to post a meeting, they can get a quorum, and they can just get through what they need to get through. So with the board's permission, I don't know how much time you all would like to grant an extension, but I'm thinking maybe a few days is what we need. Doreen?
Yeah, why don't we just say the end of the month?
Okay, there's Doreen?
Yeah. I was just going to say, I think we do need to have the committee wrap up any administrative work that needs to get done, such as meeting minutes. As far as documentation, Evan has all the documents that we need, so I don't think that's necessary. And I just want the committee to be mindful that they've already completed their charge. And so really, besides cleaning up any sort of meeting minutes, if you
Right.
agree, yeah.
I agree. Yep.
That's really all that needs to be done. And so there's a meeting posted for tomorrow evening, and that should be wrapped up tomorrow. So,
Okay.
I mean, I'm in favor. You know, maybe we give them another week just in case there's not a quorum. I have a conflict tomorrow because I have another meeting, so I won't be able to attend. But hopefully there'll be a quorum to approve the meeting minutes. But if not, you know, give them an extra week just in case another meeting has to be posted.
Mr. Often had an idea, and I was thinking maybe the 29th is the last Friday of the month.
Sure.
Does that seem like a reasonable extension?
Yep.
Well, I mean, so we're gonna vote to disband this committee and then they'll be disbanded on the 29th? Cause I'm not in favor of disbanding them, so that's, you know. I mean, we have more work to do.
Yeah, I agree.
And they are an experienced committee in fire chief search, so, I mean, I'm not sure why we're gonna disband them.
Yeah. Okay. This was something that we discussed on Thursday, so that's why I put it on the agenda. Okay, so that's all I'm doing. Does anyone else have any other comments that they want to make?
I do, if you don't mind, Peter. So the charge to this committee, like I just said, is complete. And so I think, you know, this board needs to have discussions over what our next steps are going to look like. So I don't want to hold on to a committee that's charge is complete.
Well,
And-
we don't have a new fire chief,
Correct.
so the charge is not complete.
But we may end up taking a different direction with that.
Well, we may end up taking a different direction, and I'm not sure who's talked about this different direction or what direction we're gonna take. But we have an existing fire chief search committee, and if we're gonna put this back out on the street, and we're gonna go through that process all over again, then we need a fire chief search committee. So why are we getting rid of one?
So that's exactly the conversations we need to have. Are we going back out on the street to look for a new fire chief? Are we going to go with an interim chief for a while? And, you know, what do we need to change? And so to hang on to a committee for potentially months doesn't make sense.
Well, I want
a minute, just a minute. You guys are going back and forth. I just want to make sure that we're aware that the charge of the fire chief search committee was to find us finalists.
Yeah.
For a final interview. They have completed that tasks. They've completed that. Not to make sure we hired a new fire chief. That's on us. So I just want to make sure that we're clear that their charge was to search and get us finalists. They've done
Exactly.
that.
I'm well aware of that.
But
We don't have a plan. We don't have a decision of where we're gonna go, how we're gonna get there, and how we're gonna end up. So I can't see disbanding a committee that put a lot of work into trying to find new or working with, you know, that company to get us candidates. So we'll just throw them out now and we'll make a decision what we're gonna do later. No. We make a decision of what we're gonna do, and then if we decide that we don't need the fire search committee, then we get rid of the fire search committee.
Colleen?
So for me, I do believe that we're going to need a fire search committee, but I do believe we're going to want a different makeup of this committee. And it's not to say we don't appreciate all of the hard work and all of the months and efforts that this committee did put in. But I think we learned a lot, and I think seeing different membership and having that conversation and a new committee for a new search just makes sense.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Does anyone want to take a motion?
Yeah, I move to not disband the fire search committee.
Do I have a second on that? I don't have a second. I'll entertain a different motion, please.
Are we done with this discussion about?
We didn't have a second, so I'll entertain another motion at this
All right.
time.
I make a motion, we vote to disband the fire chief search committee, as of October 29th.
Second.
Motion made, second. Any discussion on the motion? Exception to previous discussion on next steps?
Yeah, I guess I just, while the topic's hot, the way that I read the charge from the previous committee, it's my understanding that they did fulfill their charge. They worked with Badge Quest. They brought us our final candidates, and I know that we didn't ultimately hire somebody, but as far as that process goes, to me that's concluded, and now we're on to something different. I don't know what it looks like. What we did discuss at our emergency meeting is reconstituting and potentially slightly tweaking the membership of the search committee. So on that basis, that's kind of why I'm going to support this. So.
We just don't have a plan.
We don't, and I think,
And
yeah, we
I think it's silly to get rid of a committee that's done a lot of work, and we don't have a plan. So that's my complaint about the whole thing, is we're just gonna kick these guys loose. We don't have a plan of what we're doing. We don't know what we're gonna do next. And we're just gonna kick them loose. Hey, you know what? It's the will of the board. If the board wants to do that, that's fine. I'm gonna vote no, because without a plan, you have no idea what you need, so.
Any other
Peter?
comments? Yes, Dory?
So I think it's unfair to say that we don't have a plan. I feel like we've been talking about this. We held an emergency meeting last Thursday. It's back on our agenda. The plan in place right now is to take a step back, to talk to command staff and include them in the conversation, and to have discussions as a board and come to a consensus of how we want to move forward. Again, this search committee fulfilled its charge, and I don't think the term cutting them loose is correct. I sat on this committee and spent 6 months worth of time, and it's not up to them to take responsibility for whether or not we hired a fire chief. And so I think of it as like thanking them for their service that they've done and moving in a different direction. And certainly there's a lot of value to what went on in that committee and a lot of things that will be reused. But in order for us to take a new direction, I think this is the best step.
All right, any other comments on the motion?
I just want to say that, you know, I really don't want to get rid of them. I do want to make a correction, and this has come up numerous times, that we're going to meet with the command staff. We're going to meet with the officers. The officers are not the command staff. And I'm only going by fire department lingo, okay? So when you say that you're going to meet with command staff, you usually meet with chiefs and above. Officers are the officers. I had to get that out because it drives me crazy.
I would like to ask one more question just to kind of understand your viewpoint, Ray, because I'm not yet and I want to try. So what do you envision if we keep this current search committee, if we were not to disband this search committee now? Like, what would you envision their role being moving forward? Like, would we do the same thing we did but a second time, or do you I'm just
I think,
would like
Doreen,
to understand.
instead of, you need, in my opinion, you need a plan in place of how we're gonna do this before you disband a committee that did all of the work. Now, whether you believe that their charge is done and they may be done and everything like that, but I don't wanna go back after and say, geez, we could have used them. We could have transferred this to the fire chief search committee and they could have gone through the process that they went through first. But we disbanded them before we had a plan, and now we're out of it. So that's the only thing that I say is that, you know, if we had a plan prior to the 29th, and the plan did not, a documented plan did not involve the fire chief search committee, then I would be in favor of disbanding that committee. But until we know and have gone through all of our options, I don't want to disband that committee.
Any other comments on the motion?
I just want to say that, again, I do feel that a plan is coming together. We do not have it fully formulated, but part of the plan is to, bid this committee adieu, thank them for their time, so that we can make space to create another committee.
Any
So-
other questions or comments on the motion?
Yes, please, Peter. So going by what Ray said, how does the rest of the board feel about, like, if this were to be put on hold? What are the benefits of just waiting to disband the committee, even if they had nothing else with their charge?
My fear would be that the committee starts up again without any clear charge or direction, as we heard tonight from Ms. Bogard, who was already looking to start tweaking the job description at their posted meeting tomorrow night.
Yeah.
And we hadn't provided any direction for them to do that.
Yep.
So I believe, part of the plan is step one, and you got to start somewhere, and this was the first step we could all agree on. Well, most of us agree on when we met the other night.
All right, any other further discussion on the motion? So motion here is we're gonna disband, committee after their last meeting, on or about no later than, October 29th. If there isn't any further discussion, I'll take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
I
I declare the motion carried 4-1. Thank you, everybody, for the discussion. We'll be following up on next steps shortly here. Do we have any select board member reports? Okay. Do we
That
have-
meeting was great.
Yes, it was. I heard it was good. I really did.
rewatched it again today already. We had a good time.
Did you watch it again already?
Yeah, I got posted. What are you gonna do? You gotta watch it again.
Did you watch it twice or just once?
Just once.
Okay.
Because I had Boxborough, so I had a lot going on
That's
today.
much part of it.
All right. Any other select board member reports? All right. Do we have any TA reports?
Yeah, I've got a few. One, I just wanted to take everyone's temperature. I mentioned this to Peter. I'd like the board to start doing proclamations for citizens that do outstanding things. The way that I generally like to do them is you name a day after the individual, and so that day becomes, like in Munson, February 19th, 2021 is Evan Brassard Day. So that was my last day on the job, and they awarded it to me. It's pretty awesome. But I do think that the public generally likes that, and it's a good way to bring Grafton residents before the board that are doing really cool things, accomplishing things in their lives, doing things for the community, things like that. So if everyone thinks that that's an agreeable idea, I think we would look to start doing that on November 2nd. The cool thing that I like about it as well is that any of you can, just say we should do a proclamation for so-and-so. You'll read the paper, somebody will do something, you'll see something on Facebook. And I think there's some really nice work that comes out of that and builds relationship with the public.
Can residents make recommendations as well?
They can. Yeah, I had, I'll share with you a story. So there was a gentleman in Munson that was on the, ZBA for like 30 years. And he wound up having cancer and he was in hospice, and his wife had contacted us and told us that, and we started talking to her about, can we do something? And we did a proclamation for that gentleman, and his wife had told me that he would only be awake for an hour a day, and when he was awake he would ask if they'd voted his day yet, and then he passed away the day after they voted the day. And then when I went to his wake, the proclamation was on the table next to his coffin. It was deeply moving to those people and to him. And I really think that it seems like a small thing for us because we do government stuff every day, but to people that are actually doing these things, it actually has a pretty significant meaning. you know, my Evan Brassard Day thing, it's just a thing, right? It's one day in the past, but it's kind of cool that I have that, you know, that I have it in a frame. I don't know, it's just neat, and I think people really appreciate it, more than we probably recognize. So if everyone thinks that that's a thing, I'd like to start trying to do that. You know, you're not doing it every meeting, you're doing it here and there and when things are important.
Love it. Great idea.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
Okay.
Yep, great idea.
Okay. We'll start working on the first one. And
You gotta warn us about those stories though, 'cause I literally start crying. It's that was a tough.
that was a really touching one. I got to be honest with you. That'll stay with me forever. Okay. So we handed out the first round of staff shirts today. William went around in a staff shirt and his bow tie. That was pretty popular today.
You wore the shirt with your bow tie?
Yeah.
Do we have a picture of that? That's fabulous.
We most certainly do not.
That's not on Facebook yet? I can't. Oh, that's unfortunate.
We have security footage. We'll
Oh,
pull it up.
excellent.
Forgot about this camera.
You should remember the cameras. Always remember the cameras. So there's a video of me last week running from that Colleen's giant spider.
Gus, have you seen
Gus.
him again?
No, he's in the planning department somewhere. I'm
That's
going to let them work it out. So, but the staff were genuinely very thankful. So I just wanted to pass that along. Everybody thought that was really cool, and I think by and large people thought that was a special thing. So, thank you for getting on board with that. Town meeting. I just wanted to give a brief recap. I think everything went really well. There were some folks online asking why I didn't go out live. We had a glitch trying to get the school system to talk to the GCTV system, but they were able to record the meeting and put it up. It is now live. As of this afternoon, there was only one like on our Facebook page. It was my grandmother.
Nice.
She thought you all did a wonderful job. She was watching it in Ludlow, Mass. midday.
Thank you, Grandma.
So yeah, she thought that was really cool. She watches all of your meetings. Big fan. And yeah, hi Vicky.
Hi, Vicky. Thank you, Vicky.
So anyways, I thought that was cool. I just wanted to say thank you to Dawn. I think she ran a really good meeting. You know, she was, Will and I and Don and John from the school department, we were there early to do some setup and had tunes cranking and had a great time taping off seats and everything. So it's fun when everybody's into it. And I think the meeting went really well. No, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody involved. That was a good meeting.
What was the official turnout? 200 something?
Yeah, I don't remember top of mind. Over 200 though.
That's awesome.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I
We
think
need
it
the
was good.
clickers.
What is that?
Yeah,
We need the clickers.
who's responsible for that?
So we're working with Dave Robbins. He's like the resident expert currently. So he sent out a manual that he wrote for it.
102
is-
pages long.
Yeah, it's a legit manual. I opened it to read about how to use the clickers and immediately was like, I'm not gonna read this today. this is dense. Dave, being the normal amazing guy that he is, put together a really top-notch document. I've never seen anything like it, really. So we're gonna meet with Dave, Candy, Paul, Will, and I, and just go through the whole system, testing, get it all up and running, so that when we hit the spring, we'll have it.
Okay.
So we all had conversed before yesterday's meeting, and just decided that we were not prepared, and it, you know, rather than have it go poorly, we wanted to have some time with it. So, but I'm excited to use the clickers at the next one.
They're fun.
What's that?
They're a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. We did receive the certificate of occupancy for the library. We are closing in on some of the final things. We're still waiting for some items to ship, and some smaller little things here and there that we're working our way down on. So I have a meeting tomorrow morning at 9:30 to continue to go down punch list stuff. Most of which is hung up on actually obtaining the stuff, doors and a couple of other things. So, but we were able to solve most of the IT stuff, and we're in really good shape. So if you get a chance, head over to the library and check it out. And we'll be working with Beth on the grand opening, which I don't know if we have a date yet on
We
that.
don't have a date yet, no.
So that's coming. But it is a beautiful, beautiful space.
Beautiful space.
We are reviewing applicants for Affordable Housing Trust, FinCom admin, treasurer collector, assessor, and the fire department office manager. So we will be holding interviews in the next 2 weeks, hopefully on all of those. So
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, we're moving pretty rapidly. We have a good candidate pool for treasurer collector. Those start next week. Assessor will start the week after, and I have to figure out where to fit in the other two in between all of that.
How's the fire department admin search going?
It's good. We have a good pool of candidates.
Good.
So I just have to get together with the chief and pick days to have a conversation about
Okay.
narrowing it down and figure out where to go from there.
Good.
Yeah, we're in good shape.
That's an important one.
Yep. Last thing I wanted to update you on is the earmark from the state. That is the $1.2 million that we had been hearing about from Senator Moore's office, not his office, from the legislature. And so I've really been harping on that, trying to find the money and how we can use it. So in actuality, the money does not exist. So it is, an earmark is an authorization to fund something, but it doesn't mean it actually got funded. And so now we have to try to get our projects onto the governor's capital plan for next year. To give you an idea of what those odds look like, last year there were earmarks in the amount of 19 billion, and the governor funded 2.6. So it's kind of a long shot. We're still going to go after it, obviously. But knowing that we are going to start the process for doing the work on George Hill Road, the engineering study that we need to do, the plan and the specs, we're going to do the two things in parallel and hold out hope that we get the money and we can refresh our coffer. But otherwise, I don't know that I have a lot of good vibes that we're going to get that money from the state in the end. So, yeah, it was a little bit of a bummer getting that email today.
So you're proceeding ahead on dual tracks. The state money doesn't come through. We use the 500K to complete the design and engineering and
Yep.
just fund the rest of it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. I don't know
Alright.
of any. I can't come up with a better solution, to be honest with you.
Okay. I mean, it's got to be done.
Yeah, it's better than nothing, so that's
Right.
headed
Yeah.
in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing the work. I was just really hoping to have that state money and then have our 500,000 stay where we wanted it to stay.
Yep.
But absent that, you know, I don't want to wait any longer on the project. I think
Agreed.
we've heard from residents that they want to see us moving the project forward. So that's what we do. So I spoke to Paul about it a couple times today, and we both agreed that that's probably the prudent step to put in motion. So, and then I will also have a conversation with our representatives because I don't really like that process. I think that's the process that's been in place for 100 years, but it's still not great. So we'll have a conversation about that too.
All right.
Good.
That was all I have, I think.
So you said out of how many billions of dollars of requests, 2.6 gets billion out of,
There was 19 billion that was earmarked in the budget.
okay. And about 2.6 got authorized by the governor's
Right.
capital.
So it's a bond bill process essentially. They authorize you to go out and bond $19 billion worth of stuff, but they never actually do those things. Which the frustrating part for me is that it gets released in a press release that says Grafton gets $1.2 million from the legislature, but you actually don't have that money at all. It doesn't exist.
What they're saying is the legislator's saying it's okay.
Right.
That's what
Right.
they're
And
saying.
right.
Yeah.
So that's a little frustrating because then you start getting calls from the folks on George Hill Road saying you got
that's
800,000.
fine, yeah.
Start doing some stuff. So, anyways,
Okay.
that was a bummer, but that's all I've got. We'll end on the low note.
All right. Any other questions for Evan on the town administrator report? All right. Let's move on. We received a few correspondences. Does anybody have any questions? We received a memo from the Conservation Commission with regards to Lake Quinsman Commission representative. No. All right. There's an there's a recommendation of acceptance for Carriage House Lane and Appaloosa Drive. Any questions? received a copy of the quarterly warrant. I do have a question regarding an email received from a Gmail account about the JKRP Holdings for Resonate about the transfer. Is that a legitimate email that we received?
Yes, and we met with that individual in our
Okay.
development team
Okay.
and gave them advice on how to navigate local government. So
I just saw that because it came from a Gmail account and it came in through the web portal, and I'm looking at that going,
yep, we did too, but we were able to connect with the gentleman, and he was on our call last Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we did meet with him and go through some steps.
okay. So that'll be something that will be, if it goes forward with anything, it'll be on
Yep.
our future
Exactly.
agenda if it
Yep.
gets to that point. Okay.
Yeah, we with the cannabis industry, there's a lot of prospective deals that seem to come up, and they don't always gain traction. So I just always exercise caution and have those conversations. But if nothing is actually applied for, we haven't taken any action. So
Okay.
Is there any intention to keep in touch with them or ask them for an update in a month, or
which this latest company?
just the purchaser? It's just difficult to, with,
Yeah.
like you said, there's a lot of prospects, and it's difficult to get a handle on where all the development is in town, just in terms of revenue projections and licensure and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's just a bit frustrating.
We do have a good contact now with this new gentleman. What was the name of the company? Do you remember?
I do not.
There was a company name. They're hard to all remember them all. They all
Yep.
have fun name. But we had a great conversation, and Chris is in contact with him, and we'll stay in contact. So if we need to reach out in a month or 2 months, we can do that.
Okay.
Just to put out there in the ether of reality, a lot of these ones, when you reach out in a month, they don't get back to you. So there's always that aspect too. That's happened to us a number of times so far.
Yeah, I just think,
It's a bold new world out there.
I know, just to the extent possible,
Yeah.
it'd be good to stay in touch with all the, obviously they have open permits and whatnot, and so to just,
Yes, we are. I mean, I have been in contact with the folks at Resonate. That's been an ongoing conversation.
okay,
But we try to keep in touch. Yes.
got it.
Okay. All right. We received a letter from Lydia, but we had that discussion already. Okay. If there's any other questions, let's move on. So put a couple of items here on discussion. One that's kind of circling back, which is the review of annual music license applications. If you recall last year when we were reviewing these, we were reading them pretty extensively, and there was some language that I think date back to the 1920s that we feel that our current license probably needs some revamping to have some modernization. So I wanted to put this on here so that way when we go to do renewals of music licenses for establishments, that we have an updated form for them that's kind of reflects more modern times. So we wanted to put this on the discussion here. Just people had a few minutes to review it. Does anyone have any questions or comments? They want to start the conversation.
I do. If no one else does, did you?
You-
You've got paper with yellow highlighter on it. So.
Yeah, I have all the licenses,
So I would say yes. She has.
but I
something
can
to
wait.
say.
I'm not in a rush. I got nowhere to be.
You're just gonna Colleen this all up, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a verb.
So let me. Maybe I can go first.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay,
Good
that'd be
idea.
great. So, sticking to the music license application, we have spent some time on this. Joy and Cindy and I. Joy and Cindy are the ones that really have their hands in it on a daily basis. And there's two issues that have come forward. One is our outdated form. So what we would actually like to do is pull the music and entertainment license out of the form that it's in now and make it its own form so that we can gather more specific data about times, location, type of music, not like genre, but like it's a rock band versus it's a 4-string quartet, that kind of stuff. That is information that I think we need to capture better. But the other question or the issue that came up,
Would you like this on screen?
yeah, I thought it was already up.
Waiting for your direction, Beth.
I think I made myself clear.
Well, clearly
Okay.
you didn't.
So the one of the issues that comes up is that the board is asked frequently to issue a 1-day music and entertainment license. You don't actually have that. Doesn't exist. There's only one license, which is music and entertainment, period. So what we're going to propose to the board is that we have one form, but you have two different licenses. One is an annual and one is a daily. You could do the daily at, say, $10 and the annual at $25 if you wanted to set the fee structure similar to what we have elsewhere in the mix. We will then have a section that asks if it's indoor, outdoor, or both. Again, type, time, location, and just really hone in on what people are applying for. We would also have a section that has some internal references on it, because as we move past April of next year, and in theory the governor's order on emergency outdoor dining goes away, we want to make sure that any application is congruent with our local zoning. And so we would add just a layer of that. This would be created in Viewpoint, and so we can have tiebacks to different things. So again, if it's a local restaurant that's trying to do outdoor dining, there's other stages in there, and this would be one of those. Are you going to have music at your outdoor dining location? Yes, checks that, then they have to fill out the rest of the information that comes up with the music license. So that's kind of what we're thinking would be the most prudent step to take, and just pull it out of this list altogether. Colleen, I see you looking at me.
Aren't we all? No, I think that's a good idea. And I do like the idea of flipping the prices versus the 1-day beer and wine license is $25 where the annual one is $10. Flipping those around, making the annual one $25 and the 1 day's $10 makes sense to me. And then just when I was going through the existing annual license holders licenses, just making sure they're all the same. Most of them had the same time. One of them didn't.
Yes.
So that was okay. Why? It didn't really make sense to me.
Right.
But that's what stood out to me, the fees and the times.
We
Not that bad, right? I did okay.
Oh yeah, it's just there was a lot of highlighting there, and I was seeing my future,
Yeah. No, it's
and then I was seeing William's future.
How quickly it rolls downhill.
yeah.
It really does.
Wait a minute, that could be uphill. You don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
don't
Oh no,
you?
it is most certainly down.
I tried.
It's a very steep hill.
Yeah.
I tried. Okay. All right.
No, we actually had a conversation this morning that detailed some of the inconsistencies across different licenses for different times that would normally align with, you don't have you don't have to do outdoor dining and a band and alcohol, and they wrap up all at different times or whatever. Would be good to have a consistent format across them all.
The second page of the license, is this wording from the Act of 1926 and that's why it's included, or are these additional provisions that we crafted in Grafton, like no dialogue or conversations that are suggestive are even allowed? Like, we're going to update all that too, right? Or is that something that it's the Act and we can't really do anything?
No, we would be looking at that too.
Okay, great.
I don't actually have an answer for you.
No,
If that's part of the act that we can't change, or if that was us, but we will figure that out as
Okay.
we go.
Yep.
So you're talking about like the jingle board stuff and
Muscle dancing.
and,
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Got it. I've seen in other towns music licenses, specifically outdoor, that some towns have some language in there in terms of enforcement. And so just because we've had some complaints, I just wonder if this board would contemplate putting some language in there that makes it a little bit easier for the police department to kind of engage in that enforcement behavior, or whether we're comfortable, with what's happened so far, and just kind of letting the police department deal with it as they happen.
Well, it kind of does, like, that's what the second page is. It does have language in there that if they're not complying with all of this, then it can be suspended or revoked.
Yeah.
So,
Who suspends and revokes that? The board, or can the police, if like
Yeah.
upon the first or
Question.
second time they get a noise complaint, can they say,
Yeah.
all right, we're shutting it off?
I think the board is the one that revokes. I think it's the purview of the department to enact any kind of ordinances that are in place for sound or whatever the issue is. But they also should be reporting back up to the select board to have you revoke a license or give you the.
So that'd be a show cause, like, hearing type of thing.
Yeah.
I would feel bad for a police officer who got called by a neighbor, showed up, they get called back an hour later. We haven't had a lot of that, so I don't want to be overly reactive, but,
We could certainly, as we undertake this conversation, ask Chief Crapo what his preference is of how we would do that.
that'd be great.
Yeah,
Because
I'd like to
quite
do that.
honestly, I think there's probably information about how an officer interacts on that level that I just don't have.
Cool.
Because I'm not,
Alright.
Yeah.
Thank you.
not the chief, but I'm sure he'd give us feedback for sure.
That's good.
Do you hear that? Sure, he'd give us feedback for sure. Yep.
So my question is timing. I know we're coming down to renewals. Is it reasonable to probably put this back on the agenda on the 2nd
Mhm.
with the follow-up and the information from the chief for the board?
Yeah.
Is that?
Yep.
Okay, great.
I think Cindy and Joanne will help us move that along pretty
Okay.
quickly.
All right, any other questions or comments on the annual music license application? So we're kind of looking at both of these, just so I'm clear. There's the indoor one, which we've historically always done, and then there's this outdoor one. But we're looking to create, in addition to that, like a 1 day or an annual license. And we're gonna look at what an indoor license would look like versus what an outdoor license would look like.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it seems like there's a couple of different variations.
Yeah, and I think we're gonna try to do it on one form, so you would check indoor or outdoor, and then, kind of just work your way down the list. I think we're gonna try to make it as intuitive as possible, and so that somebody, I'm gonna do outdoor entertainment, here's my one form. And then we'll mirror the viewpoint set up to be the same.
Okay.
That's good.
All right, any other questions or comments on that? All right, we will be back talking about that on November 2nd. Thank you. So I wanted to put on here, on the agenda, just a follow-up discussion from Thursday when we're talking about meeting with, and pardon my indulgence on putting command staff down, Ray. That's me, not on the board, okay?
No, I'm not,
And
I'm just saying.
I meant to
that's not-
put, I tried to capture what we were talking about, so I didn't know if there was one word. But I'll make sure I change that for our meeting with them to make sure that that reflects correctly. But we wanted to talk about just another chance before I send it off to Chief Gothier, just the meeting topics or the topics that we would like to bring up with the officers in command of the department. So I just want to kind of give everyone another chance. I know it was a few days ago that we had this meeting, but I just wanted to bring this back before I send off what those are for them, and that way they can discuss and review and come to a meeting which is looking to be on or about November 9th, is when the chief had indicated that that would be his ideal date for his staff, officers and command staff to meet with us. So anyway, I wanted to open that up. It's a workshop day.
All right.
Yeah. So we're gonna have a pretty full meeting because I think we are, depending upon how the board feels, talk about goals at the same time on that November 9th, because we punted that.
Yep.
To October. Anyone have any questions or comments, or did everyone kind of say what they needed to talk about on Thursday?
So I think we need to prepare ourselves, and we need to make sure that anything that we're going to be asking from the fire department officers, that they're prepared to discuss as well. I think the focus should be on the interim plan. And, Ray talked about us not having a plan. I think we've got an idea of how to move forward, but the information that we should get from this meeting, I think, one of the significant inputs to our, next steps has to be from the fire department officers. And really, I think the focus should be on the interim plan. So what are our options with our current chief? What is the fire department officers feeling about options for an internal candidate as an interim potentially, not actually nominating an interim and having the station chiefs managing. I don't know what the options are. Because obviously this is a unique situation for this board that we've never been in. So I would just like their input on, and recommendations on what they think are feasible options, and, to keep the fire department operating, and successful, That was sort of my basic thought process around bringing them in. I think, something we could contemplate asking them is just kind of some context for that discussion. The current state of the fire department as it is, what I think it's my intention as a board member to give them the support they need to be successful now and during this transition period. So I think it would help me to understand just the current state of things, how things are working, if there are any gaps that they see, any ways that the town can support them, to just give us some assurances and confidence in what they're doing and how things are working. I have an opinion from talking with several fire department members over the past couple of weeks, but I'd like them to have an opportunity to state those things in public and have it be part of our meeting.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I can add to that. I was thinking along the same lines. I stated this in the meeting on Thursday that the most important thing during this transition is public safety. The second most important thing to me is involving the fire department and making sure that as we come up with an interim plan that we get it right and we get their input. So I'm not going to repeat everything Matt just said, but I'm in agreement that that's the way to go, because I'd like to hear from them if we go through the process of hiring an outside interim, like what are their expectations, what's the timeline that they think would work best for them during the process, and yeah, so not even really getting into the job description or search committee or anything like that. I think those are discussions that we need to have among the five of us. But really, I'm just looking for the best short-term plan for Grafton, and they're going to know best.
So I agree with that. I'd like to focus on interim first before we start talking about re-advertising and whatever the next process is. I don't think we're going to have somebody in place before Mickey retires, is my guess. So, what's the plan to keep the fire department going, until we have that longer term discussion about how to move forward with our next search process. So, to me, I'd kind of like to tackle that, nail it down, make sure that we're collaborating with the fire department on that interim process and plan. And once we've kind of nailed down that and we're all comfortable with it, then, we need to have discussions about what's after that.
So it sounds like we all agree, or most of us agree, that going down the interim path is where we're headed. And as I see it, based off the information we've discussed, there are three options for the interim path. We can an outside interim. We have the captains kind of do a hybrid version of handling the duties while we get through, or we can ask the chief to file an extension with the state, which I imagine will take time. So if that's a consideration that we're going to go down, it might be something we are prepared to ask him to do that night, rather than deliberate after the fact. So I think for us tonight, if we all agree that an interim path is where we're going, deciding which interim we're hoping to go down and running it by them that way versus them telling us makes more sense, so that we can say, this is what we're thinking, do you agree?
I guess I'd add a fourth option to that. I would like to know from them, this is a question for them, whether or not there's an internal candidate who would be able to fulfill an interim position. And from my perspective, that would be number 4 for me, but I'd like to hear how they would rank those 4 things. It doesn't mean that they are making the final decision on it, but out of those 3 options that you named and my one, yeah, I think we should have a plan, but I feel like, I guess, I don't know the timeline, for example, let's say Chief Gothier can stay on longer. I don't know how long the state provides
And the
for
state
that.
might not say yes.
Or
Yeah.
yeah, he might say no, I don't want to do that. That's not the best for the town or for me. And the state might say no, right? So I guess
So he's already offered to do it. So
Okay.
it's not a no from him. He said that he would be willing to do that. And my understanding is he can file up to a year. But again, it would be the process of the state responding and how long does
Right,
that take
right.
and what does that look like if that's the option we're even considering. And as far as an internal candidate becoming the interim chief, my only concern with that would be is that how do you step up as an interim chief and then step back down when the new chief comes? And I
agree.
I feel personally that might, while you're right, that's on that table of options, that's not a preferable option in my opinion, because I can see that causes problems down the line that we would just want to avoid.
I think that way too, but this is where I think the discussion will be helpful because they may completely disagree and say we have a plan for that. I don't know. I'd like to ask.
Yeah, but I guess I want us to be on the same page of where what you know what I mean. You just said that's an option, but you don't even feel comfortable with it. So that's probably on the lower end of where the direction we're going. What are our top 2 options that we would like to see happen? So when we have that discussion with them, it's
Mine right now would be to hire an outside interim.
okay. What's everybody else think?
Do we want to do a straw poll on that?
I mean, you guys can do what you want. I want to talk to the department first before I tell you what I feel. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
I want to talk to them.
Well, I may change my mind based
Yeah,
on their
yeah.
input, and that's what
I don't want to give an indication.
Yeah.
That's me. But
Okay.
you guys, if you guys want to discuss amongst yourself, I'm hearing a couple of items here with your first, but that's fine. But I'm not saying you guys aren't keeping an open mind. I'm keeping my opinions until I hear and talk to them first. Everyone else feels.
Okay, well, I will still stand by the fact that out of the 4 options, if we're just making this decision amongst our board, I would choose, and out of all those, I think that an outside interim would be the best option. The path of least resistance, so it seems. But that's why their input is very valuable.
All right. Any other comments? I got some good notes and takeaways here, and I'm going to compile them from last Thursday as well and get that out to them in the next day or so. Anyone else have any things that they want to add for November 9th? Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that follow-up. All right, next up, we have meeting minutes for October 5th and October 12th of 2021.
I move the board vote to accept the meeting minutes of October 5th and 12th, 2021 as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Declare the motion carried. All right, I don't have anything else tonight. I have no reason, there is no executive session, so I can entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have a good night, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.